All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am Quentin Beckham, your president this year, and I welcome you to our virtual annual Development and Economics Summit. And we are now in session. Normally, this is the time of the meeting where we share in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you'll bear with me, I'd like to use this time for another purpose. Some of you may be too young, but I can distinctly remember the morning of the September 11th attacks, that feeling of shock and the dismay, and so much tragedy. As we near the 20th anniversary this weekend, it's very much on my mind again. Though I think that, like many of you, the feelings of that day will be permanently impressed upon my mind, they now also include many stories of bravery and acts of kindness that we've come to celebrate. Included in those stories are Ron Clifford, who was in the lobby of the Marriott across the street when it happened. Shortly after the first plane crash, a woman entered the lobby who had been burned by the falling jet fuel. Though many were evacuating, and rightfully so, he sat with her on the floor of the lobby. He held her hand. He found linens that he wet down to cover her with, and then eventually helped her out to an ambulance. He did this not knowing at the time that in that first plane were his sister and his niece that had been on the and had struck the towers. I think of the men of Ladder Company 6, who, after having been ordered out of Tower 1 after Tower 2 had already fallen, came across Josephine Harris. She was 1 week shy of her 60th birthday and had already descended 50 flights of stairs. She was exhausted and she could not go on. The firemen looked at each other, nodded, and just picked her up and carried her. Multiple times she told them to leave her and to go on without her, but they persisted. Helping her did slow them down enough that they had only made it to the second floor when the building collapsed around them. And yet they were safe in an open pocket where they managed to stay until they were rescued. Ladder Company 6 and Josephine remained connected until she passed away 9 years later. And at her funeral, they were her pallbearers and carried her once more. There was Jason Thomas and David Carnes, one Marine that had just cycled out of his tour of duty and one who was off duty, but after the collapse, put on their uniforms, walked to the pile of rubble, and in spite of being told that it was unsafe and they should stay off, continued to walk across it, shouting until they found a survivor buried deeply inside of a pocket of open air. They crawled into that pocket to move concrete and rubble until it could be taken out. Jason, the first Marine to step onto the pile, said that even before taking an oath as a Marine, his mother had taught him, when you see somebody who needs help, you help. And they're not a part of that particular day, but certainly connected to the history of it. The 13 young service members who lost their lives defending an airport so American citizens and others could escape to a place of safety. I'm sure as time goes on, we will come to learn more stories of kindness and bravery from those days in Kabul as we have from 9/11. As we think of the Pledge of Allegiance, I try to remember that allegiance is not just something we give to a symbol or a nation. It is also a commitment that we can pledge to a cause or to the people around us. Though we may never stand in places of tragedy and peril, such as the World Trade Center or the airport in Kabul, we certainly still have the opportunity to live out the same sorts of kindness and small acts of bravery in our service to our community and one another. If any few years has given us a chance to be people who hold the hand of another who is hurting, offer assistance to those in need, or service to those who have been disenfranchised, these last few years have put firmly before us the needs of our communities, our neighbors, and one another. As an association and as individuals, you already do so much in support of AHIP, Salvation Army, Piedmont Housing, and so many more others that I can't list them here. It has been an honor to spend this year as president of an association with so much bravery and so much kindness. No matter the many differences that we hold in our personal lives and the things we might disagree on, we remain bound together in the twin causes of charity and professionalism, and as an association can do so much more together than we could do alone. If you would please, in lieu of the pledge, join me in a moment of silence as we read the names of the 13 service members quietly in your head, and like them, do our best to listen to our better angels as we make our allegiance not only one of promise, but also one of action. Included in your handouts were the minutes from the May general membership meeting. The link is available in the Zoom chat if you don't have it in front of you. At this time, I would like to offer if there are any additions or corrections to the distributed minutes, to please submit them using the Zoom chat window. There being no corrections, the meeting stand as approved and distributed. As always, we are extremely grateful to our sponsors for stepping up and helping us provide this wonderful program. This session is brought to you courtesy of our presenting sponsor, Virginia Housing, our event sponsors, Farm Credit of the Virginias, and also Real Estate Weekly, and our Good Neighbor Award sponsor, Rose Dahmer of Home Warranty. We truly value the professionalism, service, and support of our affiliates to CAAR and its members. Since you're not able to visit with these sponsors in person, please review the handouts to learn more about these companies and their great work. At this time, I would like to hand the meeting over to Frank Webster of Virginia Housing.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Quentin, for that nice introduction. My name is Frank Webster, and I am a business development officer for Virginia Housing, covering the western part of the state. You may not know the name Virginia Housing. Up until last year, we were VHDA, and last year we rebranded ourselves and changed our name to Virginia Housing because we felt like it better reflected what our values and what our mission is. We are the state housing authority, and what we do is we work with the local lenders that you already know, trust, and work with to help provide benefits to your first-time home buyers that you simply can't get from any other source. Some of the examples of things that we provide to your first-time home buyers is all types of loans. We provide down payment assistance, which could include either free grant money or no money down loans, both in and out of the city area. Closing cost assistance, tax credits on a borrower's federal income tax returns that can be ongoing for up to the full 30 years of the mortgage, lower costing mortgage insurance, and also free homebuyer education. So last year, Virginia Housing helped over 8,700 individuals and families purchase their first home, and that totaled approximately $2 billion worth of mortgages that we provided through your local lenders in the Charlottesville area. So if you would like to learn more about how we can help you sell more houses and to serve this segment of the market with the first-time home buyers, please call me at this number, 804-762-3078, and I'll schedule a free lunch and learn for the agents in your office. We can do that either virtually or live, and I would love to just share the mission and the purpose and the programs of Virginia Housing so that we can help as many Virginians as possible achieve their dream and their goal of home ownership. So thank you very much for letting us sponsor this program today.
Thank you, Frank. As a reminder, September is Realtor Safety Month. The National Association of Realtors created the Realtor Safety Program to reduce the number of incidents that occur in the industry, and so that every realtor comes home safely to his or her family every night. We can accomplish this goal together by improving the safety culture of the industry and our association. Together and within our offices, we should talk about safety, create a safety plan and follow it, and encourage your fellow realtors to do the same. Please visit the nar.realtor/safety today and review the various resources available to you, such as planning your safety strategy, tips and best practices, training videos, and more. Here locally, if you experience a safety incident, please report it to the police and NAR through the Realtor Safety Network. In addition, we invite you to share your experience with Carr and post it on the Carr Facebook group. The Facebook group is an icon on the single sign-on dashboard. Carr will be developing a dedicated safety webpage later this month, which will include local realtor warnings, NAR safety resources, safety tools within Supra and HomeSnap, and safety items available in the Carr Realtor store. This webpage will also be created as an icon for members to access from the single sign-on dashboard. Please always make your safety a priority. On the subject of safety, the ongoing COVID pandemic seems to be fluid and ever-changing. While we enter what seems like another wave of uncertainty, please know you can always depend on CAAR to monitor the changes to real estate on a local, state, and national level. We wish to keep safety at top of mind for our members, our staff, our guests, the Hillsdale Conference Center, and your clients. We will continue to operate while abiding by updated COVID protocols and provide you exceptional service and support. As of August 31st, CAAR has entered Level 2 business operations. Details on Level 2 are linked in your weekly news group e-newsletter and are available anytime on the CAAR.com homepage. As COVID has continued to impact the real estate industry in various components, such as personnel and resources, we wanted to hear what building challenges and triumphs are being seen from a local perspective. We are thrilled to provide a panel discussion to help you navigate through the pandemic while utilizing the resources of area builders and developers. Today's panelists are Charlie Armstrong of Southern Development Homes, Josh Batman of Stony Point Development, Ashley Davies of Riverbend Development, Drew Holzwarth of Greenwood Homes, Steve Krohn of Resorts Companies, and David Mitchell of Southern Classic Homes. And at this time, I would like to hand over the meeting to Greg Slater, who will operate as today's panel moderator.
Thank you, Quentin.
Thank you, guys.
Look, we're lucky to have such a diverse, experienced group of industry experts join us today. If you're not familiar with who these people are, we have provided more information on their bios in today's handouts through the chat mechanism of the Zoom call. We've got about an hour to spend with these folks, and I'm going to start the process by asking some questions and trying to guide us down a path. You're welcome to enter your questions at any time in the chat or in the Q&A, and Quentin and I will monitor those and try to work them into the discussion. If we don't get to them right away, we will try to save some time at the end to address as many questions as we can. But as you can imagine, with a panel like this in just 60 minutes, there's a lot to cover. And since there's so much to cover, I thought it would make the most sense if we just go all the way down to the ground level and talk about what's going on post-sale in the new construction process. What are the challenges from the time a contract is signed for these builders, and what are the opportunities? You know, this is the part we deal with the most as realtors. We're lucky to have Drew Holzwarth with us, who has supervised literally thousands, the production of literally thousands of homes in this market and others. And Drew, if you would, I thought if you're willing to kick things off, if you could maybe talk about a few of the top of mind things that you're seeing that we should know as realtors that are challenges to what's going on from a new construction standpoint, getting these homes delivered.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, I'm happy to tackle that. You know, I feel like as my career has progressed, I've had different roles through the years, and right now, I feel like I'm a procurement professional. And so, what I'll share is, you know, I think in the press we all read about the increasing prices of lumber and then the scarcity of lumber, and you know, I would say 60 days ago, maybe up to even 30 days ago, it was a real challenge for us to get lumber packages on the ground. You know, yes, we were paying a lot more, sometimes more than 3 times what we paid for lumber the year before, but you know, we were getting it on the street. And so that has corrected nicely. If you drive by the lumber supply shops in the area, you'll see that their warehouses have gone from completely empty to getting better stocked every day. And so I really feel like we're getting out of the woods with that challenge. And now it's just pushed further down the line in the construction of a home. And so we continue to have challenges getting windows. Our window supplier pushed out from 15 weeks to 19 weeks to 26 weeks, and they remain at 26 weeks. And if you think about that, it's almost a half a year. So if we sell a home now, we can get windows for that home in 6 months. And you know, that's certainly a challenge. And then almost overnight, our cabinet supplier, which is aligned with a lot of different cabinet suppliers, they went from 9 weeks to install to 12 weeks to 15 weeks. And they're not even hitting the 15-week timeline now. And so where it's really gotten difficult is for us to get our arms around what the next challenge is going to be. We're continually on the phone with our supply chain. ensuring that our orders are going to be fulfilled on a timely basis. And we're looking for alternatives when an issue arises. And so over, from February until now, we were early on in 2021, we were quoting 5-month deliveries. We moved to 6 months, several months into that period, late into the summer. And now we're at 7 to 8 months if somebody buys a home from us today. And it's just trying to be responsible in terms of the timeline, because building products are just not readily available right now.
As realtors, we have had to look at new clauses in contracts related to material increases after the contract is signed. What advice do you have for realtors? Where are we in that cycle of risk as it pertains to the ground moving under our feet in that 6 to 8 month process to build a home?
I know a lot of us still have not had to use that clause, although some builders that had contracts further out have had to use the clause. Thankfully, we have not. But what I will share is it's about all of us just staying really close to what is going on in the commodities market. One of the most shocking escalations this year, we've heard about lumber, we've heard about plumbing pipe, but a box of wire, and so a year ago to get a box of wire to wire a home, and there might be 45 boxes of wire in a home, they were $38 to $42, and we can get them anywhere. And those ran to over $125 a box, and to the point where people were breaking into homes under construction and cutting the wire out of the home because copper has gotten so expensive. And if you watch the news, the commodity markets over the last 2 weeks, copper continues to run, and it's just incredibly expensive. So, we've had, what that means is, each house is another $300 to $3,500 for our electricians, passing that increase through to us. But it's really been everywhere, and it's been hard to keep up with. So if you do have a builder and you do have a contract that was written a long time ago, really don't be surprised. And this isn't, as you've seen new home sales prices increase, this is not home builders getting rich, I assure you. This is us holding on and trying to chase margin, because the margin erosion is real.
Before we move on to the next topic, where are we on labor and trades? Is that part of the challenge, or are these guys keeping up too?
Not to get political. I'll get David Mitchell to smile, not to get political. One of the biggest challenges in the labor pool right now in Central Virginia is, we've got a bunch of really talented trade partners and mechanics, whether they're electricians or HVAC techs or plumbers. But where they're really challenged is, and if you looked at every crew, there would be 1 or 2 laborers, and they were apprentices and they were learning the trade. And they may have been getting paid, $12 an hour or $14 an hour. And so they were a key part of the completion of these homes. And as some of these benefits, unemployment benefits, have really gotten quite robust, our tradespeople cannot keep laborers at all. And they've elected to stay home. They've elected not to come, and they really can't hire them. And so, knock on wood, we are hoping that with some of the rollback in the unemployment benefits, we're going to start to see the lesser skilled workforce come back into the ranks, because we absolutely need them.
Thank you, Drew. As realtors, we know the main driver of this market is a lack of inventory, and that's had tremendous upward pressure on pricing. It's made our jobs as buyers agents very difficult. And I'm not sure I've ever seen as many homes sold in my career on lots that aren't platted for homes that can't be started. So I'd like to see if we could get Steve to talk to us a little bit. Steve's company oversees the development of Spring Creek and Belvedere and other properties. I'll let him mention. But Steve, what do you see from where you're sitting for the challenges of getting these lots to the market?
I see 2 different things, Greg. Very close in locally, in Albemarle and Charlottesville, I see horrific delays. In other localities, absolutely not seeing that. Other localities are very cognizant of the issues, and they're solving problems as they come up. That's harder to do the closer in we are. I'll give you two perfect examples. Our company has controlled the Belvedere Development now for 4 years. Prior to yesterday, very fortuitous timing of this town hall, prior to yesterday, we had only been able to plat 58 lots in 4 years' time. So about 12 a year. Yesterday, we platted 43 new ones that had taken us a 2.5-year cycle to get approved. On land that was properly zoned, no rezoning issue, none of that. It was faster to build the lots, take it from a wooded forest to built lots than it was to get plats approved after all the construction documents had been approved. So clearly our public sector partners have some challenges that need to be solved. I'd love for our industry to be helpful in solving those. We'll see how that transpires. Big picture, what that means for something like Belvedere, when we took control of the project, we had about 450 homes to build. In 4 years' time, as of yesterday, I'm now averaging 20 platted lots a year. So it's going to take another 20 years for me to get Belvedere finished, given how close it is and how strong the demand it is. That's just unconscionable. And,
Yes.
and good Lord, the cost of redoing and redoing and resubmitting and resubmitting, that adds into the burden that all of our home buyers ultimately have to pay as well.
Well, if everyone probably remembers back before the recession 15 years ago, we started to see this push to the outlying areas outside of Albemarle and Charlottesville, whether it was cost or regulatory, whatever it was. What's Spring Creek and Louisa County environment like compared to Albemarle County?
It's a lot better. There's a great deal more efficiency and cooperation. Actually, I would defer to the home builders to a certain extent because they have to get so many different inspections done along the way during the construction cycle. They probably actually see that on a more hands-on basis than we do as the developer. But even basic things, when a sewer line needs to be upsized because the development has expanded in a way that the original services didn't contemplate, that happens. It happens in an orderly way. It proceeds along. It doesn't stall. So everything becomes a lot more predictable. Timelines become a lot more concise. And our worst enemies from a cost standpoint are long timelines and unpredictable outcomes. Nobody invests to bring the product our market needs to the marketplace when those are the caveats you're given. You don't know when, and there will be a lot of unpredictable outcomes in between start and finish. Capital goes elsewhere. It goes to Richmond, it goes to Raleigh, it just goes elsewhere. And that climate, and that's in a nutshell our affordability issue.
Thank you, Steve. Dave, I want to switch to you a little bit. I know we've talked a lot about the regulatory challenges and the burden, not just from getting through the process of getting things done, but the way it adds cost to the process. Someone told me, I think yesterday, every time I ask a builder how long it takes to get a building permit, I get a longer number. As late as yesterday, I heard 3 months from one builder and 4 months from another. What would you like to share on this topic?
Well, I'm happy to hear from Steve that I'm doing a little better than him at North Point, but not a lot. So maybe I'm not a complete moron, because sometimes I feel like I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. I mean, we've been at North Point the same way for a while. Mm-hmm. Almost every lot is sold in our first section, and I do not have it planted yet. I mean, Charlie can talk about that. So building permits, yes, I hear we have problems with them. We have problems with just, our commercial properties and residential properties getting permits, getting them processed, making sure they actually get into the system. I found that to be some of the hardest stuff to make sure it gets done. Is you email it because you can't see anybody. I guess you can go in there. It's gotten a little better, but you have to follow up to make sure it even gets into the system. And then after that, it can be 4, 6, 8 weeks. I mean, I finished a project for a commercial, a doctor's office out here in Crozet on one of our properties. And I just got, like, they're moved in. We got our inspections, but I finally got the actual paper permit. The inspectors, thank goodness, were just working off of the fact that I'd applied. It was engineered set of drawings, but the paperwork there's a problem in the intake and there's a problem in the staffing. And I know they've been through a couple of intake specialists, and it's a constant battle, I guess is the best way to put it. And you can't assume that you turn something in that it's going through the process. You must, on a weekly or daily basis, follow up in order to push it forward. And it annoys them, and it makes you seem like the jerk that's giving them a hard time. But if you're not the squeaky wheel, you're not getting oil.
Thank you. We just got a question from Trish on this topic. I'm going to throw this one to Charlie. Why is Albemarle County moving at a snail's pace for permitting, et cetera? What would you say to that?
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing as builders are seeing on building permits, and as Steve is seeing on plats and site plan reviews. Now, I see things from a land development point of view most of the time, and what I've seen and what it really boils down to is a major disconnect, a wide gulf between the policy makers and the policy implementers. In both Albemarle and Charlottesville, a lot of times we hear the politicians and the high level executives at both the county and the city talk about the drastic need for housing, particularly more affordable housing. But then an Albemarle County land development plan in the approval process goes through more than a dozen different individual reviewers and agencies. And none of those individuals seem to have read the mission of the policymakers. They don't seem to focus on the need and the desires of the county to produce the housing that we need. They get bogged down in each of their individual kind of regulatory silos, missing the forest for the trees, so to speak. And when that happens across a dozen or more different reviewers, you're talking years in a process that really shouldn't be.
Thank you, Charlie. Steve, what would you like to add?
Yeah, Charlie mentioned the affordability thing. And one of the things I find in all of my discussions with our public sector folks that all of our realtors get, for some reason, the public sector folks overlook. Clearly, Belvedere is not a first home buyer neighborhood. So nobody's ever going to make the claim that it is trying to serve our affordable housing need. But what everybody in the public sector is missing is every local buyer of a new home in a place like Belvedere is moving out and upsizing because there are either more kids there or they have a parent moving in with them, an elderly parent. And every time that cycle occurs, they're vacating first home buyer residences. And it's always going to be cheaper to bring a first home buyer into a residence that is a resale versus one that is brand new construction. Brand new construction is so costly these days. Everything from the tap fees to all the issues Drew mentioned on material supply. So we need to move the whole spectrum of our community forward. And if we do that, it will free up people who are currently locked into a starter home for far longer than they really had preferred to be and wanted to be. And that'll be good for every buyer.
Well, as realtors, I think every realtor in here doing business can tell you right now we have people who want to sell their homes, but they have no place to go. I mean, that's the most common refrain in our market, right? Why is there no inventory? Well, I have someone who wants this other home. I can't find them a house. Ashley, I'd like to call on you. For those that don't know, Ashley serves on the steering committee in the city for the comp plan. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's going on with that and what we can all expect here in the next few weeks and few months from the city of Charlottesville on this topic.
Sure, Greg, I'd be happy to share. It is a very important time in the city of Charlottesville. They just several months ago passed a housing policy and plan for the city, and they're working with consultants to wrap up the comprehensive plan process, which is our 20-year vision outlook for the city. It's supposed to be updated once every 5 years. Charlottesville has taken the full 5 years in the past update, in this current update of the process. But it is getting to a very critical point, and the major emphasis of this comprehensive plan is how do we get more housing into the city, and as Charlie mentioned, particularly more affordable housing options. So there is going to be a big push to adding density in the city, and it is going to be coming under review by the Planning Commission this month, and then next month there will be the start of public hearings on the process. So this month the Planning Commission is kind of doing their final workshops on it, and then October, November timeframe throughout the end of the year is when the public hearings are going to occur on passing the updated comprehensive plan. And I would really just encourage all the realtors to take a look at the Seville Plans Together website, because it has a lot of information. It has all the most recent land use plan documents, and to just really kind of add your support for pro-housing policies and finding ways that we can really create a clear set of rules to get more density into our community without all of the headaches that you're hearing the other panelists describing on this, because right now there are just so many log jams to actually getting housing on the ground. And then beyond that, in the next month or two, they will start rewriting the entire zoning ordinance for the city of Charlottesville, which is the implementation arm of that 20-year vision. So that's when we will really get into the nuts and bolts of what we can do on which parcels. So it's just so important for everybody. It's been a long haul, so it's hard to stay focused on it, but the work they're doing right now is very important and will impact what happens in Charlottesville probably for the next 20 years.
Well, I'd like to go a little further on this topic and invite Charlie to comment if he wants, but we hear words like soft density and ADU and things like that. And obviously housing affordability in the city is a hot topic. What's in the plan, or is the plan going in the right direction in your opinion to achieve some of these pro-housing goals?
I generally think the plan's going in the right direction. Soft density refers to things like, a granny flat in your backyard, or a studio apartment over your garage, a place to provide an additional unit of housing that's in a more affordable category than a big single family house, but doesn't place an additional burden really on infrastructure, so it's soft on the infrastructure. That seems to be almost a given in what the city is going to implement. But what the debate about is primarily about right now is whether to allow more density in neighborhoods that traditionally have protected themselves from that density. North Downtown is the classic easy example, but that's the conversation. Roberta asked a question I think ought to be answered here, because it's really important. What can CAAR and its membership do to help with the bottleneck and help provide inventory? If you live in the county, call your supervisor. If you live in the city, call your counselor, or show up at a meeting and tell your story. They want to hear individual examples of what people are experiencing, what people are seeing. This general refrain that we need more housing is meaningful, but real stories are even more so.
Thanks. I would point out this is not just a CAAR audience. This is a Blue Ridge Home Builders audience, and our two organizations work together a lot in the last decade, and we find more ways. I can't think of a better topic to work together on than this. Jody Mills has pointed out this, this topic of governmental or regulatory obstacles was a big topic at their board meeting today. So we're always interested in feedback from you guys. If you have more today for these realtors, we want to hear. And of course, if the Blue Ridge Home Builders wants more support from CAAR, we want to hear it too. While we're going around the horn, we haven't heard from Josh. There's another component to this real estate market, and that is the commercial side of things. And Josh happens to be with Stony Point Development. And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more what you're seeing from the dairy market vantage point and where you are in that project and why we needed it and what it means to the future of Charlottesville.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Greg. So we, I think probably many of you have already been to the dairy market. We've been really pleased with how that's come out and its reception in the community. And then what we currently have under construction is phase 2, which is 180 apartments we're calling 10th and Dairy. And we're in pre-leasing right now and have had excellent response from the community in that regard. And there's a lot of demand to live in town near bustling retail, that kind of thing, which is obviously been a little less bustling over the last couple of years, but we're beginning to see it really fill out and people get more comfortable. Of course, we've now got some more concerns on the horizon, but by and large, people are just wearing masks on their own and really enjoying it. So that part, I think it's really created this little corner piece that sort of connects to UVA and to downtown mall and has a wide appeal in the city and the region. Phase 2, we've got 180 units. We got really fortunate. We locked in our lumber prices just before everything spiked. I think we signed the contract in like early November, and then they just started to go way up from there. And they've since calmed down, as Drew was saying. We've definitely experienced a lot of difficulties with labor, hard to hire, or crews getting sick, that kind of stuff. We are running behind right now. We've managed to contain it pretty well, but it's just continued to, as with everyone knows here, that it's just these things that come out of the blue. All of a sudden, this thing is, there's a shortage of insulation, or Texas got hit and we had the chemicals that were necessary for insulation disrupted. So we've certainly felt it, and it's part of the reason why we're running behind on the construction schedule now. But I think other than that, we're really pleased with how the project is fitting into the community, and we've tried really hard to work with the local community to make sure that that it does that. So.
Can you speak, or anybody on the panel speak, to office space and businesses coming here? There's been lots of conversation in the past few years about how popular it is to come here and have a headquarters for a company, how much of the dairy market is focused on office space, or right there in that general vicinity?
Yeah, so we've got about 50,000 square feet of Class A office, and I think we have 3,000 square foot left. So we're basically fully leased. We've got everyone from CoStar to Virginia Humanities, and so we've gotten we've gotten good rents and excellent tenants. So we've been really pleased with the demand for office space. I think we hit that pretty well, kind of right before the pandemic. We got a good head start on leasing, but even throughout, we've continued to get retail leases and office leases. There is a lot of office space coming online with Apex and 310, and we've got the two or three really big code projects coming online here. So that'll be interesting to see once all that office space is available, what the demand is for additional office space. But we've had a great experience with that thus far,
even in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, while we're trying to make sure we touch a little bit on every topic, multifamily, as someone who sits in between two brand new apartment complexes in Crozet, not sure what would happen when they were built, and now pretty much watching them fill up, I was curious to know, maybe David or somebody else here can talk to what's going on in apartment world.
Well, I will. So, great. I also work for Great Eastern. I probably spend more of my time at Great Eastern than building houses now. We have all of our apartments are pretty much full. Everything's going well in that regard. Our biggest issue is getting the people that are in there to pay the rent. We have actively been, our leasing people have actively helped the tenants who were impacted by COVID for job or whatever reason, apply for all the various rent funds that can help pay. Some people you got to drag them kicking and screaming, but if you've lost your job legitimately for COVID, or if you have a family member that has a medical issue regarding COVID, there is money out there to help you pay your rent. We have been actively tracking that. I'd say we probably are maybe 10 to 15% of our people are impacted in that way. Almost all of them have in some way gotten some funding, but it's a constant battle. Our biggest issue has been our commercial tenants, really. We have shopping centers as well. And, you know, the big boys pay their rent because they've got plenty of equity to pull from and can get loans and whatnot. But the small tenants have suffered drastically, and you can't get blood out of a turnip. So we've worked with them. We've deferred rent. We've forgiven rent. We have temporarily knocked rent down. All of them they're a little different. Obviously, the restaurants got hammered when this first came out. Retail was hit and miss depending on what type of retail it was. Grocery stores obviously did not have a problem at all. Some of our grocery stores are bumping up against the percentage rent where they pay a little bit more because their sales are so much improved, and that's the case. I mean, out there in Harris Teeter at Crozet, their growth has been phenomenal. It's not just because of COVID, it's because of obviously the continued population increase out here as well. So it's a mixed bag. It's just like, you know, we say our residential is carrying us through this downturn, this COVID. And 10 years ago, when the world fell apart, our commercial carried us through the residential that almost, I mean, we had properties that were 30, 40% vacant 10 years ago when that market correction happened. So it's nice to be diversified, I guess, but it's a constant management battle.
Thanks for sharing that. If you're not paying attention, there are comments coming in the chat. I don't see a lot of specific questions to ask at this point. So we welcome the opportunity for any specific questions for any of these panelists now. I did want to come back to Ashley. As someone who served on a community land trust board and been immersed in the affordable housing conversation for as long as I had, I'd be interested to know what you see from your vantage point at Riverbend and your approach to what you're working on in the affordable housing space.
Sure. So a lot of my daytime hours are spent, Riverbend Development is the pro bono housing development partner of the Housing Authority here in Charlottesville. So they are they're starting to redevelop and modernize all 41 acres of their property throughout the city. And they currently have 376 units. So we are renovating all of Crescent Halls right now, which is a 105 unit building that was built 45 years ago. And phase one of building over at South First Street is under construction, and that'll be 62 new units. And that'll be the first new public housing units to be built in this town in over 40 years. So while we have, we definitely work in affordability into our for-profit construction, which Drew can always also speak to. A lot of my time is spent specifically with the Housing Authority work, and that has been really rewarding but challenging experience. It really, and you can probably speak to this as well, Greg, it really shows you that if you want to provide units in the community that are deeply affordable, of which many of our community members need, and we don't have any availability of that, you really have to stack so many different funding sources and jump through a lot of different hoops on the federal and state levels. Definitely involves tax credit deals and just an extremely complicated process. So I can understand why we haven't seen a lot of affordability in this area so far, but I do feel like there is a major community-wide commitment to starting to kind of turn the ship and make sure that we can create a more equitable housing market in Charlottesville and keep all of our community members here. So it's exciting to see those tides turning, but has been really eye-opening to see kind of all of the forces that work against creating affordable housing as well.
So when you talk about those projects on the nonprofit side, your partnership there, can you describe who you're reaching? Is this a for rent opportunity you're creating? And do you speak about the demographics in relationship to median area income segment of the population you're helping?
Right. So the projects that we are creating are tax credit deals. So that allows for area median income of up to 60% AMI. But a lot of it is really people that are even like 30% or below AMI. So some of the most needy or people that need housing and there's really nothing available. So it really is the lowest levels, and you can't really expect your typical developer to be able to handle that. I think that's what we're hearing a lot in these kind of public debates. Well, why can't Riverbend just come in and provide this housing that's at the 30% level? And you just look at those numbers and there's just no way possible. So I think we have to have the realization that if you're getting lower than that 60% level, it really does have to call in all this separate federal funding and programs, and just tons and tons of charitable support from wonderful people in the community and programming. Like everybody has to pitch in if you're creating housing at those levels.
Yeah, that is remarkable. Thank you for the work you and your organization are doing, for sure. But in that same vein, Josh serves on the board, the Piedmont Community Land Trust, with me, and we just had a little breakthrough on the helping builders in Albemarle County and developers get proffered affordable lots built and delivered to the market. Can you give us 2 minutes on that, Josh?
Yeah, sure. So we were fortunate enough to partner with Stanley Martin on 8 lots out at Spring Hill, down Avon Extended, and we've got, I guess, six contracts. Are they closing tomorrow, Greg?
We've closed on 6. We have 1 under contract. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and 1 more, and then we've got one left. And we were able to help Stanley leverage the Albemarle affordable housing requirement, and actually get people in those units that are required to be offered. I think it's still for 90 days, but we had experience with that at Riverside, where we had condos that were part of that requirement, and we listed them. We reached out to different organizations around town, and we just got no interest. We just got nothing, and so they went off the market. We just didn't have any. There was nobody that came forward at all that was interested in them. So working with the land trust, I think it kind of points to what Ashley was saying, that I think even at the 60% level, you still kind of need that capital stack of different charitable organizations or government funding, something to help people even at that level. And so with the land trust, we've been able to do that for 6 home buyers and soon 7. And soon another eight just this year. So
to put a little more context on that, that's helping people who make 80% of the median income or less become homeowners, right? Not just renters, but breaking that rental rut cycle and at the same time creating a permanently affordable inventory of housing. So what did we miss, guys? What topic have we not touched on, panel members, that you might want to share with this group of realtors we have today? And realtors, now's your chance to ask questions of these folks here, because I've pretty much covered all the topics lightly that we wanted to hit, but we have a little more time if we want to dive deeper on any of this. And yes, I will pick on you, Drew. You look like you want to tell me something. Here's what I want you to talk about, Drew, and anybody else. We talked about the challenges. Let's talk about the opportunities going forward a little bit. What's on the horizon that alleviates some of this supply, whether it's Southwood project that Charlie can speak about? What's the next project coming out of the pipeline you guys are aware of that you're excited about?
I'll start and then pass it off to the other panelists. One of the things that I've been doing business in Central Virginia since 2004 when my family and I relocated here. And for the first time, we sat down with the Riverbend team and the Greenwood team, and we have made a commitment to go over the mountain and into Augusta County. And so we have gotten to the point where all of the reasons why you heard this morning or this afternoon on this call, that we don't see affordability correcting anytime soon, or at this pace potentially ever in Albemarle County. And if we're going to build quality, affordable housing, we've got to drive to qualify. And so I'm working with Ashley and her team, and she's done a great job getting a project rezoned over in Waynesboro. And we're going to be right across from Lowe's on Lee DeWitt, building villas, townhomes, and single family homes. And it's the first time that I've even considered going to Augusta County.
Thank you for sharing that. Charlie, I know Southwood is about to hit the airwaves. It's ready for realtor inquiries. Can you tell us a little bit about that project?
Yeah, I'll have to leave the details to Frank to tell you at some other date, but that is an exciting one on the south side of town, just south of 64. That's a mixed income community that meets a lot of the goals that we've been talking about as a community. Other things that we've got going that I'm excited about, and people ask how you can advocate to get more lots on the ground. Here are 3 opportunities. We have 3 projects going to various councils and boards of supervisors for rezoning. One is on this Tuesday in the city of Charlottesville. It's a planned development at the end of Stribling Avenue that we're working on. That would be 170 units and would also provide sidewalks along Stribling Avenue as part of the project. Another one is in Fluvanna County, also on the 14th at the Planning Commission. That could be as many as 350 homes in the growth area on water and sewer in Fluvanna. So a lot of people are concerned about preserving our areas, rural areas. This is in the growth area, essentially next to Lake Monticello. But we're hearing a lot of pushback from people who don't want more houses near them. It's a classic refrain, even though this is in the growth area. And a third one we're working on that I don't have a definite timeline on right now is Breezy Hill. It's in near Glenmore in Albemarle. That would be about 80 new homes. Those will be higher priced, not as affordable as some of our other stuff. But if we're talking about getting lots on the ground, getting those approvals through is one way to help do it.
I think what I'm hearing Charlie say is everyone on this webcast is invited to attend any of those planning commission meetings and voice their support for these projects if they're so inclined.
Of course.
Of course.
David, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Sorry. So North Point's our big one, and we do have some changes coming. The northeastern quadrant of the property, mainly the northern half of it, is about 400 apartments and maybe 270-ish single family, depending on the size of the lots that the builders want. But the southern half of our project was originally all commercial, and it's still zoned as mainly commercial. There's a spot or two for some residential. However, the Corps of Engineers and politicians behind them who just wanted to vote to save a stream, linear footage of stream, regardless if that stream is basically a dirty running ditch, which is what we have, will no longer allow us to fill them in and build the northern half of our project the way it is shown on the rezoning map. So we are going to have to go back to the county, and frankly, it needs to be housing, most of it. I mean, we're still going to keep the commercial that's fronting on 29 because that makes sense. Commercial's not in the best of condition it is now, but there's always room for a grocery store and the things that are next to grocery stores. But the other half of our project, the other, I'd say 80 to 100 acres that is currently shown as commercial, is going to have to get changed. It's going to have to change for lots of reasons, but mainly because we have to stay out of the streams, and so that means you can't utilize all of the property. Like for instance, the thing everybody can look at is Stonefield. Remember all those streams, and they filled it. They had a core permit from 1999, I think, or maybe 2001 or earlier, and or 2000, yeah, 1999. And they were allowed to fill it all and create the big flat spaces you need for commercial development. We don't have that luxury, so we're going to have to go back. And I mean, we can provide another round of residential, which is what we hope to do. And then we've got some properties in town that are in need of redevelopment, and because of the way the market is with housing and commercial in the city. Not so much office space. I don't think we'd want to build any office space right now, but we could certainly build, redevelop some of our properties that are in the city into either condos or apartments. And that it makes sense to do that if you've got it. I think you're going to see because of the constraints that we've all discussed in Albemarle County, if you've got existing properties that are ripe for redevelopment, that's probably the best thing to do with them, especially commercial properties.
Steve, what's your long range view based on where we are right now and everything you're working on?
I think in a lot of places, a lot of jurisdictions, problems are getting solved and things are moving at a reasonable pace. I'm not quite sure what brilliance those other jurisdictions have that we seem to lack so markedly here in town, but I wish we could catch up to them. David mentioned a perfect example, and I've made this point to Charlie's point. I engage with our elected officials as often as I can. Sometimes they get tired of hearing the same message, so I try and change the message periodically just to keep the door open. But what David described is a really perfect example. Our public officials take enormous shots and criticisms for rezoning proposals that periodically they're willing to support. But immediately after that, those in our industry who are investing in those properties fully recognize we really have got nothing. Until you can actually get it site planned through county staff, all the political hoopla of a rezoning is not going to get anything built. And you would think of who in the equation ought to have the biggest voice. It ought to be people that have been willing to serve and been elected to serve and volunteered their time to serve. That's not the way it plays out, which is really unfortunate.
Right on.
I just want to say one thing, and Charlie actually is the one who Charlie, you need to say what you said a couple of weeks ago when we had a pre-meeting. This community has insisted upon certain design standards and environmental protections, or whatever you want to call it. And often they're conflicting, and always they take up, they make density a difficult proposition to achieve. You can't have everything and your cake. You know, it just doesn't work that way. When the fire department wants bigger, wider roads and be able to turn their huge rigs around, and then the planners, and then I can't put sewer lines in the right of way anymore. Like you see everywhere else in the world, there's a sewer line running down the street. You see the manholes in the street. Well, no, we got to keep all the sewer lines out of the right of way because VDOT or the city doesn't want to have a potential, you know, once every 50 years, you got to dig up a sewer line and fix a crack. Come on, people. And so you're putting the sewer lines off the side of the road into people's front yards. And then the utility departments can't be in those easements. So the power easement is another 20 feet away. And the next thing you know, you're eating up all of your land with utilities and right of way and parks and sidewalks and all these other things. And then they say, well, we gave you, you know, R5 or R10 zoning, and you can have an average of 10 units per acre. I can't build you 10 units per acre. It doesn't all fit in the box. And it's frustrating that these regulations are not only do they make density almost impossible, they're often conflicting. You got one department wants one thing, another department wants another thing, and you can't, somebody's got to give. And often you're in the middle of it with two department heads or reviewers saying, nope, I'm the most important thing here. The other guy's going to have to give it. And that's why probably Steve takes forever to get plats and site plans approved, because you can't get anybody to make a decision.
David, you're spot on. I made exactly that point to Ned Galloway. If you listen to our elected officials, anybody that's engaged publicly, we all talk about wanting a pedestrian-friendly, multimodal society. And then the fire marshal, independent of VDOT, VDOT's in charge of roads, but independent of VDOT, the fire marshal makes you build an 80-foot wide roadway. And he says he needs it for his ladder truck, even though my approval only permits me to build 35 feet high structures, which don't require a ladder truck. And you look at history, several weeks ago, 2 family members burned in a house fire in Chesterfield. That is horrible. All of us want to prevent that. Why do we keep ignoring the ridiculous level of vehicular pedestrian deaths in Albemarle County? We have a dark sky ordinance. We have a fire marshal working against public policy, insisting on 80-foot wide roadways, and we keep killing pedestrians with cars. We are choosing that outcome. We are choosing that outcome. Until we scream at our public officials and tell them to eliminate those conflicts, it will persist.
Yeah. But politicians live to pass rules and regulations because it makes it look like they're doing something. They need to do is to pull some of these back. I said this in a meeting once, and those of us that are in the multifamily industry understand this. If you let us, we will cut our throats. If you let us overbuild a market, we will absolutely overbuild the market and prices will drop. That's how supply and demand works. That is never going to be an issue in this community because it's impossible for us to overbuild the market. Which I guess we ought to be happy that they're keeping us from cutting our own throats, but it doesn't serve the greater good. There ought to be a happy medium somewhere.
Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. We've had some more questions in here, but I think you guys have, the general question that keeps coming up is what are the things we can do to alleviate some of these pressures? And I think we've touched on those too. We need a more vocal support for the things that need to get fixed versus the loudest voice that's preventing things from happening the way you guys think they should happen and are allowed to happen otherwise. So I'm going to give you all one more chance if there's anything else you'd like to share. And if we don't see any questions there, I think we're going to move on. Now, anybody else, anything else, guys? We really appreciate you taking your time to be here. I know you're all very busy and we had a good conversation and You're all welcome to a copy of this if it's anybody in your world that needs to see it. I think it's important information, and we're going to spread this around too. So thank you all. Now, at this time, I'll hand things back over to Quentin.
I really appreciate all the time from the panelists, and Greg, thank you for moderating. It's an interesting and passionate topic that I think we share a lot of your desires to see this bottleneck open up and to have more flexibility, because more housing means more affordable housing, period. As we move on, next I would like to invite Rose Dahmer to join us of Home Warranty. She will be announcing the first 2021 Good Neighbor Award recipient. Rose? Maybe we lost Rose.
Oh my goodness.
There we are. Welcome. The wonders of technology.
Hello. I'm so sorry. Thanks again, Quentin. As I was saying, I do feel very fortunate to be able to sponsor such a respected award. And before I reveal this recipient, I wanted to share a little bit about Home Warranty, Inc. to those who are not familiar with who we are. Home Warranty, Inc., we've been around since 1999. We're currently in 35 states. I service Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, West Virginia as a district sales representative. Our best home warranty protection plan is that 14-month home protection plan. It covers 17 items, 2 HVAC systems. We offer a $100 agent discount on top of the $550, so it would make it $450 with a $75 service fee. We do have 2 call centers, one located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The other one is in Rock Rapids. We offer 24/7 live call answering and a choice of local contractors. We don't have a maximum limit on our square footage, and we offer cash out options for repairs. So feel free to give me a call if you have any questions. You can also visit our website at homewarrantyinc.com for any valuable information. Now on to the award presentation. The CAAR Good Neighbor Award honors a realtor member for significant time and interest he or she has dedicated to a local nonprofit or charitable organization. The award includes recognition at a general membership meeting, a press release, and a $500 donation to the organization for which his or her work is being recognized. Before we announce the recipient, please watch and hear what some associates had to say about this first 2021 Good Neighbor Award honoree.
She's been involved with Child Health Partnership, which is a program that works with low-income parents and their kids, children under 6, to help with children and family health and positive parenting and child development and family self-sufficiency.
She inspires donors who connect their gift with her real-life example of the impact of their support. She also gives every year to Child Health Partnership. In particular, has sponsored the last few Imagine events, and she's recently connected a great mental health resource with the organization.
One way or another, she's been involved, I think, for about a dozen years. She's been on our board now. She's into her 3rd year on our board and very active.
Realtors are leaders in the community, and by making contributions to improving the quality of life for others, This will generate additional donations and inspire new volunteers to get involved locally, which ultimately makes where we live and serve a better place for everyone.
Child Health Partnership works with over 500 children a year. And so her help has really been a boost for all of our support to make that work possible. If you include other siblings and family members, as well over 1,000 people a year that she's touching.
Ashley, your story is inspiring and admirable. Town Realty is so proud of you and commend you for all your hard work. Congratulations, Ashley.
So Ashley, congratulations so much on this award. I can't think of anybody more deserving, and we're thrilled that you're being honored this way. Thank you so much for your work with Child Health Partnership and your commitment to local children and families. It really makes a difference, and we're very excited for you and really excited to have you as a partner.
I would like to officially announce Ashley Palmer of Town Country as CAAR's first 2021 Good Neighbor Award recipient. Last month, I was able to present the certificate and check to Ashley alongside John Knapstinger, the Executive Director of Child Health Partnerships. In addition to congratulating Ashley on this amazing accolade, we also want to send her best wishes as she and her family welcome a baby boy on September the 1st. Congratulations. Ashley sent us a video message sharing what it means to receive this honorable award. Let's play it now.
I'm so honored and grateful to be the recipient of this award. It feels so great to be recognized for all of my hard work. My biggest appreciation goes to Child Health Partnership for their commitment to our community by helping families who face the challenges of child illness, developmental delays, and the challenges of everyday life that come with limited resources. They serve some families long-rooted in our community, as well as refugees and recent immigrants in Charlottesville and the counties of Albemarle, Fluvanna, and Louisa. I hope this will be an inspiration to other realtors and encourage them to get involved with the community as well.
Congratulations again, Ashley. Quentin, I will now hand the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Rose, and congratulations, Ashley. At this time, I would like to invite our immediate past president, Tom Woolfolk, to join us for the Virginia Realtors Honor Society recipients.
Thank you, Quentin. It is an honor today to recognize the 2020 Virginia Realtors Honor Society recipients. The Virginia Realtors Honor Society rewards and encourages participation in leadership and educational activities of the local, state, and national realtor organizations. I would like to recognize the following realtors: Kim Armstrong, Reeves Bailey, Pam Dent, Teely Jennifer, who's also receiving her 5-year pin, Kathy Markwood, again, someone who's receiving a 5-year pin, Donna Patton, Denise Ramey, Pat Surrey, Pat Widhelm, and Arlene Yobbs. On behalf of CAAR, we congratulate each of you on your amazing achievement. Back to you, Quentin.
Thank you, Tom. So as we come to the end of today's meeting, I wanted to congratulate Cindy Taylor and Logan McKeithen, who earned their Graduate Realtor Institute, or GRI, designation, a tremendous accomplishment and part of our continued commitment to increase professionalism across the industry. I would also like to welcome new Realtor members. Quite a good list of those. and additionally our following new affiliate members. Thank you again to all of our speakers and to all of you for joining us today for this virtual meeting. Continue to be kind, safe, and healthy to one another. Our general membership meeting is now adjourned.